This is breaking news from the Las Vegas Review-Journal, sponsored by Michael Gaughan's South Point Hotel, Casino, and Spa.
The beginning where we actually get to get into pads, so there's 4 or 5 different times where you feel like you're starting, but it's always a great feeling to get in there with the team, the entire team, and you can see how excited they are. And eager to get to work, eager to start becoming whatever it is we're going to be able to become this year. And the coaching staff's been eager to, get out there on the grass and start coaching. So it's the thing we love to do the most in our profession, and certainly there's a lot of anticipation and excitement today.
I know injuries are a little touchy subject at this time of year, but 3 guys ended up on the PUP list to start out. Are you hopeful that those guys are going to be back in good enough time to get started?
Yeah, I hope so. I mean, again, we try to avoid the time frame and predicting all that because there's such a difference between one player's body and another. But I know all those guys are working really hard, extremely hard, doing everything they can to get back out there on the field as soon as possible. And if you start training camp with 90 guys out there on the field, you're lucky. So whatever number it is, 86, 87 that we're going to have out there, I think that's, we're doing pretty good. And like I said, the guys that aren't out there, they'll be doing everything they can to get out there as soon as possible.
So your training camps now, is it second nature, everything coming together? You're just so used to it, or now as you're a head coach, is there a different pressure? You're feeling nerves to make sure you're really maximizing your practice time and schedule and all that?
Yeah, I think there's definitely some different feelings. I think the overall concept of training camp is something that you're used to if you've done it enough. But I just think the anxiety you feel is a good thing, because you want to do right, in your position, your job. And we've had, some meetings and, those kind of things. And each day at this point in time is a little different, because the schedule and the reporting dates and the league rules and the timing, we're managing the times and those kind of things. So logistically want to get those things right. But, I feel like I've gone through a few of these and just really trying to enjoy the process as being a head coach at this point, and got a lot of great people here that are, on top of all the things they need to be on top of. And, as I've said before, just trying to do the right thing in my role and be a good leader for our team.
Players were asked yesterday about expectations, and they talked about that. Some said they don't think about them, some said they do. As a coach, do you embrace them? Do you talk about them? Or in your room, do you think you have the leadership that will handle any that come about your way?
I think the only expectation we have is that we're going to go out there and work extremely hard to try to be the best team we can be each day and improve. And at this point in time, during the course of this season, we're in a complete foundational building type phase. We're not worried about thinking about opponents and games and strategies and those kind of things. This is about fundamentals and techniques and conditioning and communication and learning each other and knowing how to work with different groups of your teammates. And there's so many things we have to do between now and when we're going to play, even play the first preseason game, And so our expectation is we're going to have a great day today. I mean, that's really as simple as we can make it. That's my expectation as a coach, and I think the team has done a great job of adopting that mindset because it's the only thing we can control.
Josh, between Jonathan Hankins and Bilal Nichols, those are a couple guys that were figuring to be in the mix for starting roles at defensive tackle. How do you feel about the group just overall without those two for however long they're out?
Yeah, I mean, hopefully that at some point here they'll be back, but feel good about the guys we've added. We have a great deal of competition that's about to play out here in the next 6 weeks at a lot of spots on our roster, and that's a healthy thing. We tried to build the roster as best we could to this point with that in mind. We feel like that's the best way for players to improve and get better. I feel like that's a way for our team to improve and get better, is that they're competing not only with guys on the other side of the ball, but they're also competing with the guys in their own individual meeting room. I think it makes everybody better. And so excited to see that whole group kind of take form. But like I said, I think we have a lot of spots on our team where that's definitively the case, and we're going to give everybody opportunities, and whatever they do with those opportunities, that will dictate, how we end up, making decisions ultimately.
Coach, 2 weeks from tonight, Hall of Fame game in Canton. You're a Canton kid, so you get to go home for your first Raider game. Cliff Branch going in, Richard Seymour. I know two guys you probably knew Cliff, but I know you know Richard very well. How exciting is that? And also, from a player personnel standpoint, you got that extra preseason game. You have a lot of new guys. You got to find that chemistry and cohesiveness. Mm-hmm. How much time do these guys start getting in these preseason games? Because I know nowadays you got to protect your guys, and you don't want anybody to get hurt.
Yeah, I'll start with the last part. I mean, we're going to try to do what we think we need to do at that point each week, make the right decision for the team. But we haven't made any big decisions about, playing, not playing, how much, not, how little. I think some of the things we're going to see in practice in the next 2 weeks will certainly help dictate, how we feel about, organizing each part of the preseason. And each game's important. It's a great opportunity for us to make progress as a team, to evaluate our players against different competition and different schemes, different players. So we're looking forward to having an opportunity to do that. And, for me, I know we say it's an extra game. It's, there's only a couple of years here that we've been doing the 3, so for me it's almost normal that we have 4. And so just looking back at some of our notes in the past about how we've used the 4 preseason games will probably dictate a little bit more of what we do this year. And I really feel like this is a great opportunity for our organization, certainly to highlight 2 of the Raider greats that did a lot for our team, a lot for our organization, and I know there's a lot of people that are really excited to see Richard and Cliff, be inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. And for me personally, that's another story for maybe another day. But great to go back home. I've never been able to participate in the Hall of Fame game. This is 22 years for me, and there was a time where I was supposed to play in it in 2011, and that was the lockout year. So I'm looking forward to having an opportunity to go back home and take the team to the Hall of Fame. Interestingly enough, a lot of our players and coaches have never been there. So. It's a pretty cool fraternity, when you get an opportunity to go through there. It's humbling to see, all the history and the tradition, and you're part of it. And so our team will be eager to do that. Looking forward to, all that's going to come with that. But certainly the most important part of that trip will be what we can do on the field and how we can improve as a football team.
Coach, in the past couple of days, you hired or you signed a couple of players that played in the USFL, including a receiver that you actually previously coached with the Patriots on the practice squad. How useful do you think it is to just kind of have this league to give you guys more scouting tape to kind of add to this team, the mold?
Yeah, it's a benefit, and look, I think it speaks to there's a lot of guys that, continue to work hard, and they want to achieve their dream of playing in the National Football League and creating a career for themselves. And there was a lot of good football played. When you watch that league, and and we're not the only team that has grabbed a few of those guys and tried to add them to our roster. So, Dave and his crew have gone over every, ounce of film that we could possibly look at this point to try to make the best decisions going forward for our roster. And it may not be the last person that we add from that league, but those 2 guys definitely showed well for themselves. And and like I said, wherever we can get them, if they fit, what we're looking for and the type of team we're trying to build, it's a great opportunity for us to look at that stuff.
Josh, based on what you guys did in mini camps and OTAs, what's just kind of be the rollout? Is it a reinstall? Are you going to refresh some of the stuff you did, or are you going to build upon that in the first few days of camp?
Yeah, it's kind of we're going to go back through a lot of the things that we did. You'll see today, there's not going to be a lot of competitive portions of this practice where the offense and the defense are going to go against each other. That's just our choice. We're going to kind of go back through and really focus on some of the teaching on each side of the ball. Certainly in special teams, there'll be a little bit of that too. So a little bit of a slower process here. We can't be into pads till next week, anyway. And so we wanted to really take some time and go back through our fundamentals at each position, our communication that we really need to nail down here. And so the players they understand this may be more like a little bit of a phase 2 day, and then we're going to build into some things that are going to look a lot more like OTA days until we finally have an opportunity to get in pads next week, and then begin the physical portion of our development.
Starting a week earlier kind of help that build that runway.
Yeah, I mean, you're trying to. It's funny. I mean, I probably went through half dozen or more calendars where you're looking at it, you're mapping it out and trying to figure out what's the right way to approach it, and you have 50 some days or whatever it is until we actually begin the regular season. So it's really just, what's the best use of our time? What's the best use of our on the field time, our practice time? So, this is the choice we made. I don't know that there's really a right or a wrong. We've reported a little earlier than Jacksonville. That doesn't mean that we made, a better decision than they did, and I think each football team has an opportunity to try to develop and bring along their group as they see fit. And hopefully we're going to use the time to our benefit here and develop, the way we want to develop here.
Coach, along those lines, heat just is going to be what it is here. I guess there's nothing around it, but you just have.
I've learned that.
You have to start training camp on 2 record-setting days potentially. Was that another complicating factor to preparing everything?
It's funny because I've studied temperature and humidity maybe more than I've ever thought about doing that too. And so when you look at it, you're going to get these days, as you all know. And then you may get a day where it's in the low 90s, and it's a little different. I think practicing in the morning is the right thing to do, certainly for our team. And we've set it up or tried to set it up the right way. I mean, hopefully it's the right decision to make. But if we need to move the mornings back because we have to have morning meetings following a day off, then we're going to go inside. And that's just, we've told the players, that's just so that if we have to move the day back, we're not trying to get out there in 1:15 as much as we can prevent it. So we're going to start early, try to get our work in. If we need to adjust that for some reason, whether that's temperature or some other factor, then we'll try to make a smart decision and do it. But guys are in early. We're used to working early, at this point in time. So we'll start with that, and hopefully we do a good job of hydrating. We went through the medical people did a great job of going through the entire thing yesterday about, hydration, awareness of heat-related illnesses, those kind of things. So we'll be on top of that and continue to try to do the right things prior to getting out there, which is, I think, really the big key.
Have you decided whether you're a humidity guy or a dry heat guy yet? That's always
I've nobody believes me when they say, well, it's 100 degrees, and I say, yeah, but 100 degrees here is nothing like 100 degrees in Florida or back east because of the humidity. Yeah. So it's 100. I walked out of the office last night and it was 99 or whatever it was. But it felt great, because there really wasn't that humidity factor. So I don't sweat much out here. It's funny, so I like that part.
Last year, the Raiders only had 1 quarterback play during preseason games. How important is it for you having 4 guys available starting in 2 weeks?
Yeah. I'm looking forward to that. That room has been really an interesting room. You get to know these guys, and they work really hard. They really help and complement one another. You'll see that on the practice field too. And so eager to see that part play out. It's obviously, as important a position as we have. And, he says, well, Derek's your start. Well, anybody behind the starting quarterback is the most important guy on the team, after one injury. So it's an important position for every team in our league, and it's really we're gonna see that play out in practice, and then we're gonna see it play out in preseason games, and our focus with that position is just gonna be developing those guys, and trying to bring them along and get them the opportunities that they need to improve.
We've got time for a couple more guys. Ed.
Just because we're going to talk to him later real quick, Duron, the experience he brings, you know him well.
Yep.
what do you expect that he can do for that?
Yeah. Duron, first of all, Duron's a good player, and so, he's played, at a high level for a long time, been a very dependable guy, does a tremendous job of preparing his body. And if you watch him go about his business, that would, if I was a young player, I would really take note of the things he does, whether it's in the cold tubs or, pre-practice or post-practice or extra meeting times or the things he does to prepare himself to have a great day of work. Those rub off on everybody. He's a good communicator. He's smart. He loves football, and he's a great teammate. And he's very unselfish. So, blessed that he's here with us. Looking forward to another season together.
Time for one more. Anybody? Go ahead, Levi.
How does it feel to have Kenyan, Drake, and Denzel kind of back in the fold, kind of starting to ramp up on their work? How beneficial will it be to have them back to the field?
Yeah, I mean, Josh too, and some of the guys that didn't get a ton of work in the spring. It's always, as a coach, when you hear and you finally get that final go ahead from the training staff, like they're cleared, they're good to go, they're ready to go. It just makes you feel good because you're kind of getting closer to whole. And those guys obviously have done a lot, in this league, done a lot for this organization, and eager to work with them. As a coach who hasn't coached them before, there's always that level of unknown of how are these going to look, how's this going to look when he does it. So eager to start seeing them do just some of the basic things we did in the spring, and then bring them along. But they both had a great attitude. They've worked extremely hard to put themselves in this position to come back and contribute. So excited about seeing what they're going to do.
Great. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
You've been watching breaking news from the Las Vegas Review-Journal, sponsored by Michael Gaughan's South Point Hotel, Casino, and Spa.